I'm going to be showing you how to design this checkerboard. To start making the checkerboard, we need a new document called checkerboard. Once you have that, let's create a sketch on the top plane. Right-click and choose View Normal to Sketch Plane. This lets you see what view you're sketching from, no matter what angle or surface or plane you are on. So we want to get into the habit of right-clicking and choosing View Normal to Sketch Plane. Once you've done that, we want to create a center point rectangle. So go to the rectangle tool, click the down arrow, and choose center point rectangle. Choose the origin as your base, or as your center of your rectangle. If you highlight over this origin, you can see that it turns orange. Click and drag out. Escape to close the tool, and dimension the sides to a perfect square of 85. You may need to zoom out to see your entire square. But now we have a perfect square of 85 inches, and we're done. So click the green check mark button, rotate around so you can see a little bit of an angle, and we want to extrude this 1 inch up. So click the square. The default distance should already be 1 inch, but if it's not, type it in and click the green check mark button. So now we have our base for our checkerboard. Once we have that, we can hide all of our extra planes. So we can hide the top plane, the front plane, and the right plane. We want to create another sketch, but this time we want to do it on the top surface or top side of our base. Right-click, View Normal to Sketch Plane, and we want to create another rectangle. But this time we want a corner rectangle. Go to the top left-hand corner of your base, choose Corner Rectangle, and go ahead and just draw a rectangle. Dimension the sides to be 10 to get a perfect square. Now we want to dimension our square to be 2.15 inches away from the top and left sides of our base. So click on the top side of our square and the top side of our base and do 2.15. And then same with the left-hand side. So left hand of our square, left side of the base, 2.15. Now we are ready to pattern to make a grid. Click on the Linear Pattern tool and select your square. We want to do a 8 by 8 grid. So we want 8 squares in the right-hand direction and 8 squares going down. We want the spacing to be 10.1. So we want to click the spacing and do 10.1 for the right and 10.1 for the top, or up and down. If it flips up, like your grid goes up, just double click on the arrow and it'll go down, like it'll switch directions. And now we have our grid for our checkerboard. Click on the green check mark button when you're done. Now that we have our grid, we want to do another extrude. Click on the extrude button. Instead of clicking every other box for our grid here, we're just going to click the top left-hand corner, and we want to click the one directly diagonal down to that. We're actually going to remove or cut away this square, but we only want to cut away 0.5 inches. Once you do that, click the green check mark button, and you can see we have the start of our grid. Now that we've done this, we're going to use another pattern. So click on the linear pattern. And this time what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a feature pattern. So instead of patterning a part, we want to pattern the feature. So our extrude feature that we did to make these two squares right here. So where it says part pattern, click on it to get the drop down and do feature pattern. Click on the direction box so it's highlighted blue, and just click the top edge of one of your squares, like one of the horizontal edges. Go back to the features to pattern box, click it so it's blue, and select in our feature tree the extrude 2. We want to change the distance to 20 because we want every other square to be cut out. And we want the instance count to be 4. So now you can see we have our checkerboard to the right. Do a second direction. So click on the check mark box for second direction. And this time for direction, choose a vertical line or up and down line for our square. Again, we want the distance to be 20 and the instance count to be 4. Once you have that, click the green checkmark button. And now we have our grid. To distinguish the grid from the base, let's go ahead and make a little lip for our base. So click sketch again and choose the top plane of our board. Right click, view normal to sketch plane, and we want a corner to corner rectangle. So click on that tool. The corner we want to start at is the top left hand corner of our square that we cut away, and you should see that the corner should be highlighted orange. Click, drag out, and then go to the bottom right hand corner, and again that corner should be highlighted, and click. And now you see we have our square and we can have a border. Click the green check mark button when you're done, rotate so you see an angle, and extrude this. So we don't want to click on the inside, we want to click on this outline border, and you should see that it highlights orange. And let's go ahead and extrude this 0.5 inches up. And we want to make sure that it's add. Click the green check mark button, and now you can see we can distinguish the checkerboard from the base. The last thing we need for our checkerboard are the checkers. So again, sketch, click the top face, right click, view normal to sketch plane, and this time we want checkers, which are circles, so we want our circle tool. Draw circles in the first raised box you see from the top left hand corner. So our second box right here. If you kind of hover over the square, you can see that we can choose the center of our top line and the center of our left line. Once you kind of see that square, that orange square for the center of the lines, just kind of slowly drag in to the middle, and you can see that it shows us that we are choosing to put the center of our circle at the center of this square. Click, drag, and let's go ahead and make our checker 8 inches in diameter. Do the same thing for 2 more circles for these 2 squares here. So now in the left top hand corner, you should have this little corner of circles or checkers that we're going to make. Click the check mark button when you're done and extrude these circles. We want to make sure that these are new parts because we don't want them to be part of the base or the board itself. We want them to be separate parts. So change it from add to new so that they become new parts. Then click the green check mark button. And now you see we have 3 checkers. Again, click our pattern button, a linear pattern, and we want to click on parts pattern. So last time we did a feature pattern, now we want the part. So we want to click on all 3 of our checkers we just made. The direction, again, should be the top side or bottom side of one of our squares. The distance is 20. Instance 4. Now you can see we have our checkers for one side completed. We don't want to do a second direction because there's supposed to be space between one set of checkers and the other. So we just want to click the green check mark button now. Now we technically have our red checkers, right? If you're doing a typical red and black checkerboard. To get the other half of the checkers, the other set, we need a plane so we can mirror our existing checkers across to the other side. So click on the plane tool. And for entities, you want to make sure you're selected on mid-plane. So on this drop-down, if it's defaulted to offset, click on it and then choose mid-plane. Then choose the bottom and top of the board to get that mid-plane. If you accidentally choose a different side or a wrong edge, you can go to the selection box and should be a little X that you can click on to delete the wrong selection, and then you can just choose the right one. Once you have that, you should see that a plane is going straight through the middle of the board. Green check mark button to be done. And this time we want our mirror tool. So click on the mirror tool, and the entities we want to mirror are all of our checkers. Click on the mirror plane, select plane 1, green check mark button, and hide the plane 1 we made. So go to plane 1 in the feature tree and click the eyeball button to hide it. At this point, we also can hide our origin if we want to, so we have a pretty checkerboard. To edit the appearance of our checkerboard to make it accurate, you just need to change it in the parts tree. Click on part 1, right-click, edit appearance, and choose whatever color you want. I just choose a gray color. Green check mark button to be done. Instead of changing each individual checker piece one by one, we can select them all at once. In the part tree, select part 2. Scroll down in that box so we see part 13. Hold down shift on your keyboard, click part 13, and you can see that all the parts or half of your checkers are highlighted. Right click and then do edit appearance for 12 parts. And now you can choose whatever color you want. Again, I just choose a little bit of a red color. Do the same thing for the rest of the checkers. Go to part 14, all the way down to part 25. Right click, edit appearance, and you can do a black color. So now we have our checkers. To get the board to be alternating colors, what you need to do is you click on the top face, and you can see that all of the raised squares are highlighted. And then on the right hand side, you'll see a very small button, or 4 buttons in a line. You want to click on the top button that says Appearance Panel. Again, then what you want to do is in the top right hand corner of the panel that just opened, there should be a button that says Add Face Appearance. Click and choose a red. Green checkmark button when you're done. Do the same thing for the black. Plus for another appearance for a face, and this time you do have to choose every square that you want. And you can just make it black. To hide the panel, just click on the appearance button again, and now you have your full checkerboard.